Hello and welcome to Tête-à-Tête, our one-on-one interview program on France 24. Our guest today is the Prime Minister of Lebanon, Nawaf Salam. Thank you very much, Prime Minister, for welcoming us here in Beirut at the Grand Serail.
Thank you for joining us in Beirut.
Israel launched strikes against Qatar and is hitting Gaza, Lebanon with regularity, and Yemen as well. Do you see these strikes on Qatar as a turning point?
They've also struck in Syria. Look, unfortunately, this is not really a turning point, but rather a scandal that's going on unabated, and it's clear that it's a violation of all norms and principles of international law. It goes against all United Nations resolutions. But the true scandal is that the world is powerless.
Let's move to the situation here in Lebanon. There's much talk of the disarmament of militias in the country, and especially Hezbollah. On September 5th, the Council of Ministers meeting was held, during which the head of the armed forces, the commander-in-chief, the Armed Forces, Rodolphe Haikal, presented his plan to disarm the militias. The plan was welcomed by the Council, but fell short of a formal adoption by the Council of Ministers, perhaps to appease certain sensitivities. Do you believe it has been, in your view, endorsed and will be implemented?
Okay, listen, the commander-in-chief, General Haikal, appeared before the Council of Ministers on September 5th, following a decision, a clear decision, a major decision taken by the Council of Ministers on August 5th, or a month earlier. It tasked the army with drawing up a plan to implement the state's exclusive control of weapons. And this is something that was done formally by a decision. The decision was taken on the 5th, on the 5th of August. As you said, we welcomed the plan. We welcome it. What does that mean? We are in favor of this plan that was prepared by the commander-in-chief of the army. And we also agreed on a follow-up. Every month, the commander-in-chief of the armed forces must return to the Council of Ministers and report to us on the progress made in implementing this resolution.
So you didn't backtrack.
So as you were saying, was the plan adopted or wasn't it adopted? It's really a matter of semantics. And nothing more than that. So there's no need to dwell on that. The most important thing is that a decision has been taken. The decision has been taken. Now it's the army that has to implement a plan in order to ensure the state's exclusive control of weapons. Everyone now knows that at least the first phase of this plan is very limited in time. It's 3 months. So we have a timetable. It's 3 months. And what should happen during these 3 months? Well, we will implement the state's exclusive control of weapons south of the river, south of the Litani River, meaning in the area of operations of UNIFIL, the United Nations force,
and Israel,
where the army is currently deployed. And in the rest of the country, the army should be able to put an end to all bearing of arms and transfer of weapons. This should be completed in 3 months. And why am I insisting on this? Well, to say it clearly is just to say that we have a real timetable here. So, within those same 3 months, the disarmament of the Palestinian camps should continue, and there should be a greater control over the country's northern and eastern borders, that is, the borders between Lebanon and Syria.
According to Hezbollah, everything depends on Israel making concessions, specifically withdrawing from the 5 positions it currently occupies in the country and stopping its strikes on Lebanon. Israel, however, rejects this, saying, no, there are no preconditions. Lebanon must take action first. Is there a planned sequence linking Lebanon's actions to Israel's response?
Regardless of what Israel says or what Hezbollah says, according to the cessation of hostilities agreement that was reached between Lebanon and Israel last November, was adopted on November 27th of last year.
Du temps du gouvernement.
This was under the previous government.
Président Israël.
So according to that, Israel should have carried out a complete withdrawal from Lebanon within 2 months. Now that did not happen. So Israel's withdrawal from Lebanon has nothing to do with what is happening on our side.
Et la question des
armes. The issue of Hezbollah's weapons, well,
Hezbollah aussi
that is also not, as they claimed, linked to whether or not Israel withdraws.
Côté israélien, Israël ne peut pas seulement.
According to the ceasefire agreement,
cet accord,
Israel must not only withdraw from the 5 positions it continues to occupy in the south of the country, it should also put a complete end to all hostilities in Lebanon, which has not been the case. Their drones keep flying over the country.
They struck after the meeting.
Their drones are striking left and right.
Do you ask the U.S. to exert pressure?
Listen, we asked the Americans, we asked the Europeans, we asked the Arab countries to exert pressure, those who have direct relations with Israel. We asked them to put pressure on Israel. We asked others to put pressure on the United States so that the United States would put pressure on Israel. And unfortunately, we have not yet been successful.
You rely heavily on diplomatic and financial support from the United States, but in this specific case, the Israeli strikes in Qatar, the U.S. has clearly been unable to stop Israel, or perhaps have been complicit. Can you really count on the U.S. to put pressure on Israel, given this event and all of the others you've described?
Well, look, on the one hand, it's true. We have an Israel that's out of control.
With American backing.
With American backing. But regarding Israel, it's true that it thinks it can do whatever it wants, striking left and right, and on the surface, it seems like a regional superpower that does whatever it wants. But at the same time, Israel is becoming increasingly isolated in the world. In reality, Israel is losing diplomatic and political momentum.
Let's move on to relations with Syria. The interim president, Ahmed al-Sharaa, says he wants to open a new chapter and no longer interfere in Lebanon's internal affairs. You've been to Damascus, as has President Aoun, but no Syrian leaders has yet come to Beirut. Do you think this will happen, and do you believe you'll be able to resolve outstanding issues, borders, prisoners, refugees?
Look, President Aoun has not been to Syria. I went to Syria with a ministerial delegation. And in recent weeks, there's been an initial response from the Syrian side. A Syrian delegation came to Lebanon, and another delegation went to Syria just a few days ago, specifically to raise these issues. The issue of Syrian prisoners, the issue of borders, with all the trafficking, the unfortunate smuggling of drugs, smuggling of weapons, plus a number of other issues that need to be resolved between Lebanon and Syria. We are making good progress. This is a new chapter we are seeking to open with Syria. I discussed this with President Sharaa when I was in Damascus. And look, I believe we are on the right track as far as Syria is concerned.
One last topic. You need international support for the army, for rebuilding the country. The IMF and other donors are expecting reforms. There's one reform in particular that both donors and the Lebanese people are waiting for, resolving the issue of bank deposits that have been frozen for over 6 years now, ever since the 2019 crisis. Will you be able to deliver what both donors and the Lebanese people have been expecting for so long?
Well, I'll start with the Lebanese people. As Lebanese citizens, we're all waiting. We're all waiting for the necessary reforms. Be they financial or otherwise, we're waiting for them to be implemented so that depositors can once again access their deposits. A number of important reforms have already been carried out, starting with the reform of the banking secrecy law. The lifting of banking secrecy. Secondly, we've adopted a law on bank restructuring. And the third law relates to burden sharing, or what others call loss sharing, which should finally and at long last allow depositors to access their deposits in the banks.
And this will happen very soon?
That, I hope, will happen in the following weeks.
To conclude, you've been accused by some of being a traitor.
What?
You've been accused by some of being a traitor, even a Zionist. Obviously, the position of Prime Minister comes with exposure, even to threats. Do you ever feel personally attacked, even threatened?
Well, look, honestly, those who have made these accusations, I'm convinced that they themselves do not believe them. But do I feel threatened? Look, this is a country that has unfortunately experienced a great deal of violence. And I don't like to use the term, but political assassinations. So I know what the reality here is. But I'm confident that I'm doing what needs to be done for my country to be able to recover. And threats or intimidation will not stop me.
Prime Minister Salam, thank you very much for answering France 24's questions, and many thanks to our viewers for having watched this interview live from the Grand Serail of Beirut.